Jerry Jones isn't finding Ezekiel Elliott, which to me tells you everything he thinks about this holdout.
Right.
They're not taking it seriously. It's not a concern for the Cowboys. Zeke, I think he's got a report by August 6th to make sure he gets his accrued year and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
That's when they'll be concerned. Right now, they think this is just Zeke, trying to dust up some smoke that they're just not going to play into.
I think they respect Zeke. You took a different turn in that assessment than I took. I think they're in concert right now, both camps. I think Zeke's camp, I think the Cowboys are in concert. So right now, Zeke, I know you're doing something overt, outwardly threat to our franchise by holding out. But we're not going to respond to that because we know privately we're working on something. There's supposedly a deal in place to get all 3 players signed right now. They're waiting on that counter offer. So I think right now what you don't want to do is return fire when in reality we're trying to do something behind the scenes to make all parties happy. So this is just a savvy businessman saying, you know what? I don't have to always strike when struck.
Hold for 1 second, Bucky. As a dad, you don't see this as like, man, Zeke's over here throwing a tantrum for no reason. I didn't even spank him. I didn't do nothing. He's just looking for some attention. I ain't giving it to him. That's what he does.
I hear you, but my son right here, he's footing the bill. He's paying the bills. He's picking out the restaurants. He's cooking the food. He's washing the dishes. He's doing a little more than in that traditional relationship. And I think that's one thing about Jerry Jones. I played for Jerry Jones. That's his reputation. He always makes you feel like, yeah, I have some empathy. I feel you. But you know what? We got to handle this, and then we're going to handle that. So let's do it together. I just feel a collective spirit of more love than actually opposition.
I was actually surprised by his response because it does sound like he's like, hey, Zeke, we'll take care of you. We're trying to work on this behind the scenes because if it was acrimonious, he would have said, oh, we're going to find him. We're going to make sure we bring him in there. He has to understand all the bounds of the agreement. But he didn't attack him like that. And then when you find out that there's a deal already out there, they're waiting on the counter offer from Zeke, it sounds like, Zeke, be patient. We got to kind of put this together because we got Dak and you and Cooper. But it sounds like they're going to pay him. They're going to take care of him because they understand his value to the team.
Well, I hear the lack of response from Zeke as like, y'all ain't made me a real offer. There's nothing for me to respond to. This isn't legitimate. I think Zeke is serious about his. I want to be paid. I hear all this money that Dak is wanting. Don't do it if it's going to cost me mine. I think Zeke is dead serious about his holdout and about not responding to their proposal. I think Jerry is, man, you ain't going nowhere. Who's going to love you the way I've loved you, put up with all that I've put up with? You can go and sit over and throw that tantrum if you want to, but I'm not going to be provoked because I don't take this seriously. August 6th, that's when I'm going to start taking this seriously, and that's probably when we'll start fining you if you don't show up.
Well, I mean, I think he has all the cards. Jerry has all the swingers. All the leverage is with the Cowboys. They don't have to do anything with Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott has no reason. He doesn't have anything to make them pay him. So, look, Jerry can take his time and say, look, eventually you're going to have to come over because we got you under control for 2 more years plus the franchise tag. We will think and consider giving you a deal, but they don't have to do anything. I think they want to do it because they realize his importance to the team. They think this is a team that's ready to make a Super Bowl run, which I agree with. They need to make sure that they get the ducks in a row. They got to make sure they get Dak taken care of, then they can take care of Zeke, then they can get to Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that tells me Jerry took the right approach, and his approach is probably in alignment to what we're saying. One, the injuries over the weekend. A.J. Green, 6 weeks. So if you're Zeke, you're like, besides the fact that I want to get paid, do you really want your workhorse out there under these demands? And I'm not happy. Like, let's just make sure we do this. And I think that's turning into more of the climate for the superstar, especially the guy who's disgruntled. Let me just tap out of camp, even if this contract is right, just because you want to protect your investment. 2, this takes me back to my free agency year when I was going on my trips and went to San Diego. And I remember my agent said, you got to put on a show to get your dough. And I was like, that rhymed. And he was like, no, it means something. They come with a first offer. My first offer was half of what I actually got within 24 hours by putting on that show. I called my agent back when they gave me my first offer, like, take it. And he was like, nah, we got to put on the show to get this dough. So he's like, act like you don't like it. Act like you're going to Oakland. Act like you're moving on. While behind the scenes, they're working this thing out. I think right now, yeah, I'm going to Mexico to work out. You know what I mean? Zeke has to put on that show to get the dough, even though I think behind closed doors, they're working on an agreement.
I do think he's putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jerry is being the calm before the storm. And there will be a storm because Jerry's a nice guy, but there are certain children on his roster, a Dez Bryant, a Michael Irvin in his payday, that Jerry's like, I've done a lot. When he gets in a private conversation, it's like, Zeke, man, you know how much trouble you've been? And I've stood by you. I fought the commissioner, went total war. And so right now, throw your little tantrum. You don't want to be here early. You don't want to report till August 6th. That's fine. But I believe that on August 6th, if Zeke isn't there, there will be a storm. And Jerry has every right because, again, if Zeke had handled all his business cleanly, if there was no little Vegas incident here recently, if there wasn't him at the weed shop and a couple other things that I can't think of, I think Zeke would have some leverage to say, look at all my production. I've been a good citizen. But he can't say any of that. He's been a headache for Jerry Jones. And right now, Jerry's putting up with it because Zeke's a bit of a headache and blah, blah, blah. And he's putting up with it because right now it works for Jerry and them in their negotiation with Dak.
Well,
but come August 6th, in my opinion, my prediction is like Jerry's going to be upset.
Well, let's map the facts here and put them in alignment. Only superstar on the Dallas Cowboys that got paid early was Tyron Smith, in part because of personality. Like, there's nothing you can't talk about his game. You can't talk about him. You don't even know him. Like, no one knows anything about him. We'll pay him. But what's happening with the Cowboys, if you notice the slow play on a lot of these situations, especially financially, even in the draft, is the bureaucracy up top. And the dynamic is father-son. It's Jerry and Stephen Jones, good cop, bad cop. Jerry goes out there, he's good cop now. Stephen Jones is not with that. He's crashing everything that Jerry proposes. He undermines it with respect, and he crunches the numbers. He said, Daddy, we're going to do this different. So what happens is you see this play out with negotiations. If you can pick them apart, on the public side, with Dak, we can. Is he really worth it? With Zeke, is he trustworthy? Guess what Steven and Jerry are doing? Good cop, bad cop. They're taking their time through these deals. That's why I think it's the slow play.
The Dallas Cowboys have done a great job of drafting. And when you draft well, ultimately you have to make some decisions. So with looking at their team, they have Dak to pay, Zeke to pay, Amari Cooper, you have Jalen Smith, you have Byron Jones, you have La'el Collins. They have to make a decision on which guys are their core guys. And one of the reasons why they can't run out and pay Zeke right away, they're still trying to figure out what's the rest of the pecking order. We know you got to take care of Dak. You have to take care of Cooper. But then defensively, which of those guys do you have to take care of? They're trying to get everything in order. But I think they know offensively, this is the dude. Zeke Elliott is the guy that makes it go. So they're eventually going to come to an agreement with him. He just has to get in line and wait for Dak to get it done. Because once they get Dak done, then they can figure out how to spread the rest of the pie around.
Well, I also think, and this is my view, the Cowboys may not agree. I think there's a view that Dak can fall down the pecking order. Because Dak is there because of position, not production. Ezekiel's there because of production. Byron Jones, production. Amari Cooper, production. Dak is there by position. And again, if Dak eventually doesn't play this the right way, there's going to be a storm with Dak. And there should be. Because, again, Dak is replaceable.
Ooh.
Dak is replaceable.
Hit the drum again.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.